Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name's Ethan Bernard. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about a few things about Anthem, alright? First off, there was a new trailer shown at CES yesterday during NVIDIA's showcase. On January 6th, they showed off a new Anthem trailer where they show the game running on RTX cards, they show off the special tech for the game, and they actually show off a new armor set for the Interceptor in this nice shiny white and gold color scheme. It looks super cool. You guys can see this in the background as I'm talking. But the main point of this video is that yesterday's trailer, to my knowledge, is the first time they've released the ESRB details for Anthem and why it's actually rated T for teen. Now, we got a T rating confirmation, I believe, with the Legion of Dawn trailer. Was their first official trailer where that rating was put in. Everything prior to that had the rating pending symbol, to my knowledge. I could be wrong. But anyway, this is the first time we've actually seen what it's rated T for. And there's some good things and some bad things. And I'm going to do my best to stay on track here, even though I might swap back and forth in my line of thought. I'm not sure how I feel about this, but I do have some bullet points here that I wrote down because I am concerned about it, but at the same time, it could help Anthem. Okay, let's go over the rating real quick. Anthem's rated T for teen for alcohol reference, language, mild blood, use of tobacco, and violence. Now, compared to some other games that have released over the years, those games make this game look like Mario or some shit, okay? This game is going to be very clean in terms of what should have been, in my belief, an M-rated game, and I think it'll be absolutely fine when that is concerned from like if you're looking at it from like a parent's perspective or anything. The game should be fine, especially compared to all the more mature shooters and stuff like that. But this does concern me, okay? Let's get, first off, before I get into my concerns, let's talk about the bright side of this, okay? The younger audience of Anthem and games like Destiny, because Destiny was rated T, so it did have a lot of the audience that was of a younger age as well. A lot of that audience will have access to Anthem. Now, when the player count is concerned and like how many people are playing the game and the livelihood of the game and their sales and everything, marketing wise, that is amazing for the game. Having the game more accessible is always a good thing. However, that might be a bad thing, and I'll get into that in a little bit because for now I want to stay on the bright side, but that has some goods and bads to it, but we'll get to that in a second. The other thing on the bright side is that with this rating, and this isn't necessarily a good thing, but in my eyes it is, I think they must have put an emphasis on gameplay if they have this T rating, because all of the other heavy story-based Bioware games were all mature stories. They were like Mass Effect, Dragon Age, all the titles that were released over the year from Bioware have been these mature, really super in-depth, story-driven games with lots of mature dialogue and stuff like that. And with some of that absent from Anthem, I'm hoping that gave the developers a chance to kind of emphasize gameplay and the quality of that, because I sure hope they have a good reason for this T rating, because I was honestly hoping this would be more along the lines of Mass Effect when it comes to like the personality and the depth of characters and everything, but I don't know if it's going to be like that. Alright, now that we've talked about the bright side, let's get to the downside, because my biggest gripe with this is that it doesn't line up with other Bioware titles, okay? And now, see, again, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but at the same time, I don't want their mindset to negatively impact the depth of personality or character development, or how well you get to know a character, or how intimate, not intimately, that sounds sexual, but I don't mean it specifically in that way, just how charismatic the characters can be and how in-depth they can interact with each other. A lot of mature elements fit into that play style of Bioware games when it came to Dragon Age and Mass Effect titles of the past, and with that absent, I feel like it might have a negative impact on the story of the game. Now, I still have no doubt that the lore and the story of Anthem is going to be great, but I don't think it's going to be great in the traditional Bioware way of all the dialogue and stuff. I think it's going to be more along the lines of Destiny, with like the equivalent of Grimoire with all the lore and stuff. I think that's going to be Anthem's strong point. as opposed to the emphasis being on the actual conversations you'll be having with the characters like you would have had an emphasis on in games like Mass Effect and Dragon Age. Now, to go along with that, okay, because that was one of my main concerns, there's a small thing here I have listed that I think could have had a really good impact on Anthem. I think gore, and I know of all things, why gore? Because there's already blood in the game, why do you care about gore? With the unique designs of Anthem's characters, I like animations, guys. I like reload animations, different, like all the types of different animations in games. I just love them all, okay? Gore animations in Anthem could have been amazing. Could you imagine different animations for like meleeing enemies and shooting different parts of different types of enemies off? Especially, we're talking about a game where you're shooting aliens, guys. They could have done so much with this. And to see that there's most likely none in it because it isn't listed in the ESRB rating is actually kind of disappointing, because they could have done a lot when gore is concerned. And I know, obviously, they aren't going to do anything on Doom's level, but even like just different animations for how different enemies could be like torn apart or anything. And I know that sounds more brutal than I'm meaning it to be, but it could have been so good. All right, anyway. Other than that, the last thing is kind of along the lines, my last point here to make on the downside is kind of along the lines of parents and the younger audiences, okay? Like I said previously, the younger audience could have a positive impact on Anthem in the sense of sales, accessibility, the amount of people playing, etc. However, there are a lot of young gamers who are not very competent players. Now, you got to realize, Anthem is a RPG, or an MMO, or whatever you want to call it, this huge online looter shooter, where it's like a shared world shooter type of thing. I don't know what the hell they're calling games like this, so I'm just going to say looter shooter from this point. Anthem is an online looter shooter where all of the activities have matchmaking, okay? This means end game, early game, missions, everything, they all have matchmaking. And when you're in that matchmaking, you're going to be paired up with random players that are connected to the same servers. Which means if their younger audience is playing this, you have a good chance of getting hooked up with a younger player, which in a lot of cases, especially for the more serious players, is a very large disadvantage when it comes to the endgame stuff. Now, for story missions and free play, I don't think this is really an issue. Most people probably won't even use voice chat and stuff like this. But when strongholds and raids and all that stuff is concerned, holy crap. Could you imagine having, like, say you have 3 people, right? You need a 4th player. So you and 2 buddies get on, you're hardcore players, and you queue for a 4th for a stronghold, and you get, like, 5-year-old Timmy. What are you going to do with Timmy? You can't do anything mean to him, or you get banned from the game. You know, he's not obviously probably not going to be very useful. But, like, what are you going to do? And I'm not saying that's going to be a likely scenario, but a lot of the younger audience in games, and not a lot, just there's a portion of the younger audience in games that is not competent, and I think that could have a negative impact on matchmaking. Another thing with this is ignorant parents, and that's a very short point to make, but in all seriousness, parents look at the ratings a lot more than we think they do. And if parents buy this game for their kids because it's T and not M, and they're buying, like I said, they're just adding to that problem where you're buying like really young kids this game, and it's a very complicated and in-depth experience. Now, yes, you can hop in and play at any time, but like I said, if hardcore members or even people who need help with the game get matched up with these incompetent younger players, that could potentially be an issue down the line. Anyway, guys, the VIP demo releases in just about 2 weeks for Anthem here on January 25th. I'm super excited. I am giving away a copy of Anthem. You can enter that in the description down below. There's going to be a link to it. If you guys liked the video, leave it a like. You know what to do if you didn't. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what Anthem videos you guys want to see on the channel, or what other games you're interested in seeing. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any videos, and hit the little bell button next to the subscribe button so you get notified whenever a new video goes live. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hey naysayers, how y'all been? It's been a minute, but I'm in it to win, and I ain't finished. This is the starting gun, and I'ma run it to the front until I'm #1, son. This is a rhythmic defibrillation, innovative old school to thrill the nation. shit, I've been patiently waiting and building steam, but I'm back with the bounce like a trampoline.